Moi je ping et toi tu pong, c'est la vie d'une chanson. You say ping and I say pong, so I sing for you a song. You say ping and I say pong.
My name is Kenn Munk. I'm Danish, but I live in London at the moment, where I teach. Apart from that, I'm a graphic designer and do work for clients, but a lot of self-initiated projects as well. I teach graphic design at Central St. Martin's and have taught in various schools in Denmark as well. I like London. I was there for the first time in '93, where I had a horrible job at McDonald's, and that convinced me that I had to do something I liked, and I really missed drawing. We lived in a horrible flat, so I was basically living in my coat with my drawing stuff and walking around town, finding the coffee places that had free refills, and would just sit and draw and come up with ideas. At Box, I'm doing something that has changed a lot over the last year or so. It's currently called The Sea, and I think that is the final name of it. And sea is spelled S-E-E, as in looking. At first it was called Surface Zero, but that didn't make any sense. The whole idea is that everything we see has sort of a hidden symbolic meaning. Well, I say hidden, but it's just sort of under the surface. And it's based on Shinto, which is a Japanese tradition that every rock and tree and river has a spirit. And I believe that's true, but I don't think it's a spirit as in a soul. It's more like, you can see it, sometimes the spirit is something we interpret into a tree. Say, oh, that looks strong and mighty if it's an oak, or it looks treacherous if it's sort of gnarly and spooky. So these souls are very real, but mostly because we see them as that. It's posters, but the posters are really just a way of making images. I had to consider, living in London, I had to consider how to get everything here without hiring a ship and a container. So I got it printed here and shipped to Lynfabrikken and put it up. I did a 1/12 scale model of this whole room to try to figure it out, because the posters are, I'm trying to use what is called anamorph technology, which is something Holbein used for a picture called The Ambassadors, where you see sort of a weird blob at the bottom, but if you look from a specific angle, it's a skull. It's used in movie making to make an image wider. So when they shoot a film, the edges are sort of really compressed, and then when they project it, it gets pulled out again. So you can get huge widescreen effects. And yeah, well, everything is about seeing, because it started with the whole Shinto thing and continued on. The Shinto I expanded to my computer, for instance, which definitely has its own soul. The lock to my front door, sometimes it's really stubborn. Well, most of the time it's really stubborn and won't let me in. And cars are an obvious thing. We always read faces into the front of a car. And so I expanded that, and I included a lot of technical drawings, which I find a cool style, fascinating style. I like these instructions, and like most things, it's probably a childhood thing because I grew up with model kits and Star Wars figures and so on, which is what the backdrop here is also based on. Those cards, the Star Wars figures came on these cards, and the figure was then stuck onto it in a little plastic bubble. And yeah, I was given the opportunity to make this carpet, so I thought the format pretty much fits, so I could make one of these life size. I do have a few photos of me lying there because that's where the action figure would be. And yeah, it's all part of the whole seeing thing, because Star Wars is something that influenced my generation hugely. So it has a visual impact that also just, it's there immediately. If you see someone who has sort of a triangular mouth, everyone of my generation thinks Darth Vader. And so that sort of codes a language of my generation and some years on both sides too. It doesn't make sense just to have it. I could have gone with just that, which was the thing they were hanging on in the shop, but I wanted the ages 4 and over. And then it also, down here, it dissolves into all sorts of other visual things. These are inspired by a horrible Japanese color blindness test. It's only horrible because I am actually colorblind, and you've probably seen them. There's a number hidden in these dots, and if you're colorblind, you can't see the number, but they're coded in a way that you see sometimes other numbers and sometimes stuff that isn't numbers because they're just evil. I did one once, and I was told that, tell us what number is there. There's no number, there's a fish. And that's sort of not a nice way to be told that you're colorblind. I like high contrast a lot, and it doesn't get any higher than black and white. And I am afraid sometimes that as a graphic designer, I do client work as well, that it will be steered too much in that direction, but because for a client, black and white might not be the right thing. But I am using other colors too, and I'm sort of, with this one, that's the most colorful stuff I've done in a long time. There's a bit of beige and a grayish blue, but still, yeah, black and white is very nice.
Moi je ping et toi tu pong, c'est la vie d'une chanson. You say ping and I say pong, so I sing for you a song. You say ping and I say pong.